Aloha and good morning and good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz, joining you from Livestream.travel and eTurbo News here in beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii. And today we have a double meeting here. You see all our nice folks have been with us now for the last 2 years on our rebuilding travel discussion from the World Tourism Network. And those that are joining us on eTurbo News, on our social media, and our website, if you still wanted to be part of this, you can try to register. Just go to worldtourismevents.com and you can join the Zoom. Otherwise, just stay tuned because we're just about to start. I wanted to, just for everyone who is not familiar with World Tourism Network, just explain a little bit who we are. You all know who eTurbo News is because you're watching us, but World Tourism Network was started in 2020 in Berlin, Germany, on the sideline of the ITB Berlin trade show. When COVID just became a threat to the world. And we had, I think, the first discussion, rebuilding.travel, and I see many faces who have been there pretty much from the very beginning here today. And in 2020, in December, this discussion was formed into our organization, the World Tourism Network, currently with tourism professionals in 128 countries. So we're quite international, and we're very glad to have this discussion group. There's a lot to do, and we're getting ready for 2022. And hopefully all of us who are our members will play the active role you played before and even more. For those that are not members, you can go to wtn.travel and sign up. I wanted to introduce, as always, my co-host and also president of the World Tourism Network, Dr. Peter Tallow. He's joining us from College Station, Texas, in the United States. And Peter, we're going to give you the word, and then maybe you can introduce Don, our guest of honor. We're very privileged to have him on this event here. And I think it almost needs no introduction. But there's some exciting news, what includes a tour across the United States, and I understand also beyond that. I also wanted to recognize just a few people who are on there. One is Jonathan Pansacola. He is head of Saudi Airlines in Los Angeles and a good friend. Thank you very much for joining us. We have Professor, I call her Professor Snow White, but since we're past Christmas now, she is head of our educational committee based in Serbia. We have Hakim Ali, who is running our chapter in Bangladesh. We have Nancy Barkley, who is in charge for our group for honeymoons and destinations, weddings. She's on the East Coast, I think in Washington or Philadelphia, I always forget. And we have Stephen Brown. He has been with us, I think, also from the very beginning in New York. We got Wolfgang Hoffmann, who is head of SCOL International, based in Düsseldorf, Germany. And Peter, let's give the microphone to you, and then we can go on with our program.
I'm just going to speak for just a few moments. First of all, I'll be in trouble if I don't also say we have a special guest. My wife is on, so Sarah, welcome. I think this is a really special concept because music is really part of the travel and tourism world. And it's something that goes across borders. It's something that unites people, as does travel and tourism. So I think being so lucky to have Mr. McLean with us today is really symbolic of everything that the tourism and travel world is doing. And one of the things I know many of us are going to ask him, besides the fact that since we announced this program, I've been hearing his music in my head all for the last week. So it's maybe, it's a classical piece at this point, but it's still very much with all of us. And I think all of us are going to be interested to hear not only something about what Mr. McLean has been doing, but also your travels. And what is it like to travel for you as a musician in the age of COVID? And does that hurt you? Is it just not important, etc.? So I don't want to take up any more time. I want to welcome everyone to the World Tourism Network. We are working very hard to bring travel back and to make it the wonderful experience that it was pre-COVID, and hopefully it'll be that way again post-COVID. Don, if I may be so presumptuous, he's your first name. We're so excited to have you. Let us give you the floor because you're the guest of honor.
Okay, I'll try to answer your complex question. First of all, I am a rambler. I have rambled around since I was 15 years old. So I've traveled, and I was lucky enough to have three international top two records. I had Crying, which was #1 everywhere, #4 in the United States. I had Vincent, which was #1 everywhere. I had American Pie, which is #2 and #1 all over the world. So I immediately, in the early 1970s, began world touring, and I've done more than 20 world tours, probably more like 25. I will be doing another one now. This is what we're talking about. One of the things we'll be talking about. I'm going to start in Hawaii at the end of January, 3 nights at the Blue Note there in Honolulu. I'm glad to hear that it's beautiful weather there. And so, yes, I sing songs and I travel the world. And I've been doing that since I was 15 years old, traveling the world after 1970. So I hope that helps you a little bit. The way, frankly, in terms of travel, I prefer the fact that I like wearing a mask on the plane because I don't want to catch the flu either, you know. So it's a good thing. And I like the fact that a lot of the hotels were not as crowded as they were before the few times that I traveled, nor were the planes. I kind of like that, but it's all getting back to normal now, and it has to, and it should.
Now, Don, your American Pie, I think is kind of the center point. What everyone, when they think about you, they think about American Pie. And I know there's a big story behind it. And the story, I think many of us are old enough to remember it. Some are not old enough to remember. Maybe you can share this story for maybe those younger people in their 50s and 40s who probably don't even know the story, but they know the song.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone doesn't know the song.
I'll tell you, I was if you listen to the song, I was the paper boy. I was a paper boy, and that's how I discovered that Buddy Holly's plane had crashed in 1959 on February 3rd. I kept that in me for years and years as I went through school and developed my career and began to work and learn a little bit about the music business and gradually find my way inside this rather mysterious business because it was a mysterious business. And by the time I made my first record, it was an album called Tapestry. And Tapestry was very successful on underground radio, FM radio. And I remember coming back to visit my mother and turned the radio on. And I said, listen, Mom, they're playing the whole record, the whole album. That's the kind of thing they would do. They were very different than hit radio, which was just the hits. So, they'd have a countdown on the hits like all day long. That's all they did. But FM, they played whole albums. So they were playing my record. I was getting a lot of attention and filling concert halls and selling out nightclubs where I had before been an opening act for years. So it was a big thing. And then the American Pie album came out, and they released this little single of 3 minutes, and it went to #1. And the FM guys were still playing FM style, so they played the whole album, you see. And people by the millions heard the song in the 8.5-minute version. So they called up the radio station, and they would say to the radio station, hey, you're not playing the real thing. You got to play the real record. So believe it or not, back in 1971, they did not have the technology to put 8 minutes on one side of a single. So they would bring, the album into the studio and play the whole cut off the record, off the album, And that's how the 8.5 minute version got to be number one. So that started it, and it was a phenomenon from the beginning because people immediately started playing Buddy Holly's music right after American Pie would be played. They knew what the beginning of the song was referring to. And I might want to say, this is a long-winded answer, but
No, it's a great answer. It's historical.
it's really hard for us to look back and realize a few things, okay? Number one, American Pie was written in probably one of the most uh, tumultuous and dangerous times in American politics because we just come off um, 5 years of Lyndon Johnson and the Vietnam War, and when he handed it over to Nixon, and both of these men were despised. I don't know how they got elected, but they did. But they were despised, and the tumult and the anger and the violence was everywhere in America. It was in the streets. They were setting the cities on fire. They'd been building and building, and the war was cranking up. It was getting worse and worse and worse in 1970, 71, 72. So my song came out in that environment, and I was a part of all that. Now, the original in the 50s, the Buddy Holly story was on the front pages, but soon faded away rather quickly because people in general, grown-ups, did not care about rock and roll. Rock and roll was considered to be child's play. It was for teenagers, which was a word that was actually coined in the 1950s to describe this horde of young people that were produced after the soldiers returned from World War II. So they were called teenagers. That was a new word that had never been heard of before. That was somebody coined that in a newspaper somewhere. And the teen audience was extremely powerful in terms of determining, what was going to be sold, what kind of clothes you were going to wear. So they started influencing everything. But in the beginning, rock and roll was their music. It was kids' music. Now, there was a writer named John Goldrosen who wrote a book called The Buddy Holly Story. And he wrote me a beautiful letter. It's in my biography, a book called Killing Us Softly with His Songs, written by Alan Howard. You can find out, it's a detailed career biography. Anyway, that letter is there. And he told me, he said, I wanted to thank you because for several years, I tried to get out this book and no publisher was interested in it because they said, we don't care about Buddy Holly. We don't care about, he's not worth writing a book about. After American Pie came out, he immediately got a publisher. And he thanked me for that. And that book then became the script for the Buddy Holly story, the movie. And while I was in Los Angeles, Gary Busey and the producer of that movie came to my dressing room and they sat down and they thanked me. They said, thank you for American Pie and for what it did for Buddy, because the movie wouldn't have been made without it. And that led to the next step, which was the Broadway show, which ran forever, and it's always running someplace. So that, in a way, was the progress of, is unusual. Over the years, how Buddy was elevated to his proper position, along with the other two, Richie Valens and the Big Bopper. And so that's what happened. I didn't intend, that was beyond my wildest dreams that would happen for another artist. So, but I was writing about much more than the plane crash of Buddy Holly because I was writing in the midst of that very violent civil unrest that was going on in the United States. I was a part of that. I was singing with Pete Seeger. I was at anti-war rallies. I was singing in fields on the backs of trucks. I was in school auditoriums. I was all over the country because I not only did my own shows, but Seeger was taking me around with him. And so I was right in the middle of this whole thing, and it was dangerous, you know, because um, they were killing each other. The right and the left were at it again, you know. So the album, the idea of American Pie, and I had all the songs written for the record except Babylon, which was the last song that I got. And I wanted this closer. I wanted this big song about America, which all the songs would refer to in an oblique way. And I wanted it to close the album. But because it turned out so well, we had to put it on first, because you have to put your best foot forward on an album, because you're going to put that needle down. You're going to either like it or not. You know, right away, you got to hold on to it. So that's how it kind of all happened. But what I wanted to do was to capture the craziness and the fractured nature of my country at that point that I was living through, because, you know, the army was breathing down my neck and everybody else, and then they were going to throw us right into the infantry. And luckily I had asthma all my life and it let me out, but I was the only guy to come home on that bus that day. Everybody else went in the army, and I would have gone. If they said you're going, I would have gone. And we wouldn't be talking about any of this now.
Well, what an amazing story. And it's even, I mean, I started listening to your album when I still lived in Germany. I spoke very little English back in the 70s when I grew up. And for me, it was, without even knowing the content of the song, without even understanding the song, there were two songs that made the most impression and kind of, I think, gave me the inspiration to move to America. And this was, one of them was American Pie. The other one was from Lacey Dalton, I believe, Fifth Avenue. So these are the two songs. They're always in someone's ear. It's a song you cannot really get rid of. You hear it all the time. And I think many people, I mean, there's not one person I think you can talk to in the world, in our generation, who don't know what American Pie is. So this is definitely something very, very special. And for you to go on a tour and starting this tour right here in Hawaii, where we are, and for those that are listening to us now on Hawaii News Online, when is your tour starting in Hawaii?
This tour is actually beginning in Hawaii on January 28th. January 28th, 29th, and 30th, I will be at the Blue Note in Honolulu. Then I go to the Surf Ballroom on February 3rd, which people call the day the music died. That's the last show that Buddy Holly ever played. Oh. And then I go from there to another show in, I think, in the Dakotas somewhere. Then I come back home.
And where's home?
Florida, and then it goes on and on.
So for just so that people get to know, because people are listening to us from all over the world. So I think you mentioned that you're going to be just, again, some of the cities that you can remember. And maybe you could tell people also, I assume this is open to the public and they can buy tickets. So how do they do that?
Say that last part of the sentence, please.
I said, I assume that all your tour is open to the public and that people can buy tickets to hear you sing. How do you get tickets to come to your shows?
The best way, of course, is to go onto my website, or you can start to follow things around with that. You know, you can go to Don McLean YouTube channel, which has hundreds of videos and all kinds of information about me. You can go to Twitter. You can go to Facebook. I am highly visible on the internet for all sorts of reasons, good and bad. And I encourage people to find, you know, where to get tickets in their particular location.
Okay.
But the tour starts on the 28th in Honolulu.
And maybe since it starts here in Honolulu, maybe I can ask Pamela Taylor. Let me put her on the spot here. We had her on another show. Pamela is with Sun Island, what is, I think, the largest inbound operator here in Hawaii. And we had a wonderful session with her a while ago, and you just chatted and texted you have a ticket. So how did you get the ticket here? Unmute yourself, please, Pamela.
Greetings and aloha, everyone. And Mr. McLean, it is an honor and a pleasure. I cannot wait to come see you. This is going to be my second time ever seeing you. I saw you on the mainland about maybe 7 years ago, about 7 years ago. And now I'm having the opportunity to see you in the lovely Isle of Aloha. In getting tickets for like shows and what have you, you have two viable resources. Usually when, like he said, you can go to his website because he probably has a link. But with me in purchasing tickets, especially for the Blue Note, the Blue Note has a website where you can actually purchase your tickets.
Yeah.
Or you can go to the second party people, which I technically don't recommend, such as Ticketmaster, SeatGeek. And the reason why I don't recommend that for people is because you're paying an extra fee more than the ticket. So usually in most places, I recommend that if you want to see, if you know that an artist or an event is coming there, go directly to the event website. And that is the cheapest way for you to acquire tickets.
That's really valuable information, Pamela, because I think most people don't know that. And so the fact that you get that information, and hopefully that'll get more people to, I'm sure, Don, every show will be filled to capacity, but still it's always good to have a waiting list.
Yeah, and Pam, that's a great idea to tell your inbound passengers and guests. I know you sell attractions and all of these things, to let people know, because it's something really special what's come, what we can expect here in Hawaii, and you're part of it. I see Linda, our assignment editor, you know, she already is has the story in her mind right now. And I think that we'll hear a lot, but maybe if it's okay, we can open up if there's any comments or questions from people. Not necessarily, you don't have to be really here in Hawaii to ask questions, because Don is going to be all over the country, and we're going to post the poster with all the dates and so forth, and then link it to his website. So anyone who's not in Hawaii or is in Hawaii will have this information when we publish it on Itobo News and Hawaii News Online. But perhaps maybe if there's any questions or comments, you know, Stephen is always good with ideas in New York, or anyone who wants to ask anything or share any experience, raise your hand.
With eyes that know the darkness in my soul.
Is this coming from?
On the hills.
Oh.
Sketch the trees and the daffodils.
Well, it's nice to hear it.
Yeah.
Catch the breeze and the winter chills.
Yeah, no, it's melodies everyone knows. So Stephen is unmuting yourself. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. McLean, and Happy New Year and welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. And what I would like to know, are you going to be in New York anytime soon doing your tour?
In the fall, I will be doing, I will be out for about 3 months. First, there'll be a British tour, which will include stops in, you know, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. And then I'll go farther afield, and then I'll go to other countries. And there's stuff being added all the time. We were going to go to Australia in April, but Australia keeps wobbling. It's, you know, still struggling, so we haven't been able to find, but that'll happen. It may be possibly the first part of next year or some other time, but we will get to Australia. I love traveling there, and you know, I've been so lucky because I got to tell you all something. I never wanted to leave home. I have cousins. I'm half Italian. I have cousins who never left home. Their mothers were cooking for them, you know, even when they got married. or if they didn't get married, they were still getting, you know, mom's cooking and still living home. And my mother couldn't cook, so maybe that's why I left. I don't know, but uh, I didn't. I just never wanted to leave home. I loved it there, but my music, you know, right in New York City. I mean, if I had been, you know, brought up in Wyoming or Utah or, you know, Iowa or whatever, I wouldn't have been able to go to Carnegie Hall, and I wouldn't have been able to go to all these nightclubs, and I wouldn't have been able to have this recording business right at my fingertips. And it would have made it very difficult, you know, to get started. But I was able to sort of stay home and go to school, which is right nearby, and then go in the city and do this and go in the city and do that. And I drove everywhere, you know. I was telling some people in one of these interviews that, you know, many times I had a Saab, really good car in those days in late 1960s, and I would sleep in it because the back would go down. I had this great sleeping bag, and I'd ask the club owner, "Can I?" This is before I was famous. "Can I just park my car there and sleep?" And I loved it. It was like camping out and singing all at once. And you never knew where you'd end up, you know. So it was all an adventure. And but little by little, the songs pulled me out of that comfort zone. And I want to tell you, I was not happy about it for a lot of years. I would want to get home right after the show, you know, wherever my home was, you know. And but at some point, I think I had a Vietnam vet for a road manager, and he said, "Why don't you just surrender? You know, stop fighting it. You know, once you're up in the air, you know, you're either going to come down safely or you're going to crash. So forget it, you know." And just made perfect sense. So from that point on, everything was my home.
Yeah.
You know, every new country I went to or old country I went to was my home. I started to have friends all over the place in different countries. The airport was one of my favorite places. You know, I'd go and watch people, which I love to do. I like to go really early. I'm there 3 hours more before the flight, and I'll sit, get all the checking in and all that stuff done, and have a coffee and just watch people. You know, watch them. You see some really, you see a lot of struggling people a lot of times in airports. My God, I've seen a lot of things I wish I hadn't seen because it's sad and it's tough. It's tough. People have, you know, tough things happen to them and they have to deal with it. I'm kind of free and easy. You know, I've always kind of tried to avoid responsibility except when it comes to my work, you know, and I like that. But
I have a question,
sure.
if I may.
Sure.
Yes,
please.
Marshall, also tell us where you're from and who you are for those that don't know you.
Yes, I'm Marshall Factora. I'm with MI Travel and Tours. We're in New York City. Right now I'm working from home, but we have our offices in Queens. And very curious about the programs that you have. And may I ask a question from Mr. McLean? And obviously, Vincent, American Pie, and all those hits are forever in our hearts and minds. But I'm very curious. Your 1972 album to me is my favorite, you know, and you have songs like Falling Through Time and Amazon and Narcissism. If you could just tell us a little bit about Amazon, maybe first, and Falling Through Time second.
Okay.
Time.
That's
thank you.
That's from the third album I made. It was called Don McLean, and it followed the American Pie album. It sold well, but it did not sell as well as American Pie did. But I will tell you this about America and how wonderful it is and I really realize that people come to America because they can make it. You know, it's like if I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's like New York says. I was struggling in '69 and really struggling, and I was staying at this terrible hotel, all run down and stinky, and had my instruments, in hard cases. And I'd walk probably a mile or more every night to the Troubadour and play that place. And I was just unknown. It was all foreign territory. And again, I'm somebody who didn't want to leave home all that much, so I'm doing this. Well, 3 years later, the cover of that third album was on a billboard that was the size of a building. And I was now in a chauffeur-driven car going to play somewhere, and I saw that and I thought, wow, look, I've come a heck of a long way, to go from there to having that. And on that album, there was this song called Falling Through Time. And my friend Zenos Frudakis, who's a fantastic sculptor, probably the best portrait sculptor in the world, one of the first pieces he did was a representation of that particular song. And I guess death had a tremendous impact on me, my father's death and the way it happened, and the shock of it, and the finality of it, and the huge changes that happened overnight. Everything had always been routine, school. I was lousy at school. I was used to that. Christmas, Thanksgiving, relatives, always the same. All of a sudden, no money, no direction. My mother didn't know what to do with herself. I was a grown man at 15 years old. I was telling my mother what to do, and I was started to support her. So I believe that I felt, and I still feel, like we're somehow, this experience of living is an illusion of some sort, in that we live in the meeting of the present along with the past, in that semi-permeable membrane that is reality, that is what we think is reality. And so, we're in a free fall in a strange way, no matter how we might want to secure ourselves with money or with status or with crime. I'm sure that criminals feel a way of being secure. But so I was aware of these things at a very young age and writing about them. And so, but what I would do was I would write off the guitar. There was a figure in that song where I created a dissonance, and then the song and the melody grew out of those dissonant notes. It's a very good technique if you're a songwriter and you like to play guitar, is to find some weird chord or some progression of 2 or 3 chords, and you can start to hear a melody in there. As far as On the Amazon goes, that is a song that was written for a Broadway play in the 1920s called Mr. Cinders. And it was written by a famous writer, and I'm not going to say who it is because I might be wrong, but I loved that song, and I heard it on an album by a man named Bobby Short. And Bobby Short did an album at Town Hall with another great singer, Mabel Mercer. And I was huge fans of these two. They performed for the ultra rich. They drew loads of limousines and Rolls Royces to their shows because they sang the most elegant songs in the most wonderful, sophisticated way. Nobody could touch either of these people. So on the album he does On the Amazon, and I didn't sing it right on the record. I changed the melody because I couldn't remember it. It was more subtle than that. So everybody loved it. I would do it in concerts and so on and so forth. And I heard once that Princess Grace of Monaco was being interviewed in England, I guess, somewhere. and they asked her, they said, if you had one song to take to an island, and that was the only song you had, what would it be? She said, Don McLean singing On the Amazon. I was knocked out. That was funny.
And we have a few people. I'd like to, anyone who wanted to jump in, just click on reactions and you can raise your hand and we give you the microphone. But I want to introduce two people maybe. I'll give you a little bit warning. One is Mona and one is my friend Wolfgang from Düsseldorf. But let's go to Mona. Mona Naffer is based in Amman, Jordan. She's an American. She has been a big supporter for the World Tourism Network, is in the tourism industry for many years, essential for the industry in Jordan, and originally, I believe, from California. And you just sent us a message. You grew up with this music. Jump in, Mona, and welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. Greetings from Jordan. Yes, an honor to have this Zoom meeting. Thank you so much for arranging it. Yeah, of course, I grew up with American Pie. I was born and raised in Anaheim, and now I'm in Amman, Jordan. And it's a good place to be. Very, always something exciting going on in the Middle East, but Jordan is one of the most stable and calmest countries around. Jürgen is a good friend of Jordan and very grateful for the platform. But I am en route to California tonight as we speak, so running around.
Wonderful, Mona. And the reason
that you guys are having a snowstorm like in Jerusalem.
It's cold. It's cold. I mean, I grew up on the beach in Newport Beach. It's cold, right. But it's tolerable.
Yeah, I spoke with Amman today, and I thought they said they were going to have snow today.
Yeah, I mean, it's below zero. So, but you know, global warming, it's not handicapping us. We're pretty mobile.
Thanks, Mona, for jumping in and have a great trip.
Thank you. We'll be in touch, Jürgen.
Thank you. And let's go to Wolfgang Hoffmann. Wolfgang is running the Skoll International Club in Düsseldorf, Germany. And for those that don't know Skoll, Skoll is the largest travel and tourism organization in the world. With how many clubs now in the world and how many cities is Skoll, Wolfgang? Please unmute yourself. There we go.
Yes, good evening, all of you. First of all, thanks to Don, great music. I just played some of your songs on YouTube while listening.
A lot on YouTube, I'll tell you that.
Great. Still great music. Well, Skoll is represented in 400 cities in about 100 countries worldwide. And which is interesting, that it's for all brands of tourism, which shows how far tourism goes and how many people live on tourism if you really look at it. And I'm very proud that Jürgen is member of us in Düsseldorf, and the World Tourism Network. Basically, I think it's a similar worldwide network and helping each other on an amical basis, which is the core value of Skoll. On an amical basis, helping each other is one of the great assets maybe of WTN as well.
Yeah, and I think a great idea to share the schedule with Skoll members. So I will reach out also to Skoll here locally. There are many clubs in the United States. And if you look at the cities, Don will be performing, and I think all of them have a Skoll club. So maybe we can get the tourism factor a little bit into this concert altogether. I think it would raise quite a bit of interest. Thank you, Wolfgang.
Jürgen, maybe we can work together with a database and write personal mails to them. Just an idea.
And I think Don is coming to Europe also. As far as I know, I saw you're planning to go to Austria. Is that true?
Have I been to Austria?
No. I think on your schedule, the end of the year, I saw Austria listed.
Yes, I'm going to Austria on that tour.
So and anyone in Austria. Are you planning to go to Germany at all? Maybe to Düsseldorf?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely.
Ah,
I think we have 4 shows in Germany.
okay.
Perfect.
I've been on your homepage already, so I scroll down and look at the dates.
Yeah, we have Jane Purcell raising her hand. Go ahead, Jane, and let us know where you're from.
Hi, well, I'm actually living in the Canary Islands, which is off the west coast of Africa, but part of Spain. So I'm pretty certain that we won't be seeing Don down this way, which is a shame. So I actually had 2 questions. Firstly was whether you'd ever considered doing a live streamed concert, because I've followed other artists who have done that, which I believe was successful, such as Merrill Osmond, in the absence of being able to have an actual audience. So that was one question. And the second one was, obviously Vincent was inspired by Van Gogh, but where did Van Gogh come to your attention? Was it the actual painting that's in the MoMA, or did you find out about him from some other way?
Well, first of all, as far as some kind of virtual show, I haven't thought about that. I'm too anxious to get back and do real ones. But if some, very nice situation presented itself, I would be happy to do that. That's not something that's hard to do. As far as Van Gogh goes, I read a book about him when I was around 1969 or 70. And it was written by his brother. And the idea occurred to me to write a song about him because I was working on new songs. I didn't know what the next album would be called. I'd already put out the album Tapestry. And so I didn't really know what the next one was going to be, but I was writing, stuff and here and there and everywhere. And all of a sudden after I read the book, I said, man, I'm going to write a song about this guy, but how to do it, because you could make one of the most embarrassing and awful songs, cloying and fawning and just wrong. So you have to be very, very careful, because you want to express beauty and sensitivity and yet not do it in a way that's going to be overly overstated. It has to be understated. So I'm thinking along these lines and thinking, what'll I do? And then I thought, well, I know what I'll do, because the art is the artist. And so I'll just look at the Starry Night painting, which was, in this book, and it told me how you'd write the song. So the Starry, Starry Night was, that was swirling kind of, and then I moved into this feel. Dee 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 dee, da do 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 da da dee, dee do da 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 da. All of a sudden I'm getting this, and then I'm creating a new kind of language. It's not the same lyric writing style as And I Love You So, or Castles in the Air, or American Pie, or any of the many songs that I'm known for. It's a different style. Everyone's got to be different. It's got to be tailored to the idea. And I'm kind of an inventor. So I invent these, and then I want it to be dramatic without being melodramatic, you see. So I didn't want strings all over the place, violins coming in from the beginning. And no, it's just me and the guitar. We did like 40 takes of that thing until I got the one that was just perfect. Maybe there's one edit in it. And then my producer was very sparse. We put these vibes in the middle, which are like marimbas, you know, that kind of sound, very subtle. And then when I start to sing at the end, like the strangers that you've met, then the strings begin to come in. And see, that to me is just wonderful. It's like an open window with a breeze coming through, you know, it's alive. And this is the kind of thing we work for. If you're, you know, an artist, is you want I try to be an artist. I'm not interested in being a commercial artist. I want to be an artist. I want to be as pure as possible and do these things. And lo and behold, every once in a while, something that I do resonates with millions of people. And I have no idea why that is, because I'm certainly not trying to do anything that does anything but please me, you know. And so that's been the story of my life. I've just gotten other chances to do things. I've been up, I've been down, you know, I've had comebacks. Now I'm riding high, I suppose, more so than ever. There's so much attention. The song was recently in Black Widow. The song is in this other movie, Finch, which has Tom Hanks. There's a movie being written about how I created it, the song. There's a bookazine out about the same thing. All sorts of things are happening now. And I have a lot of people working with me who are making more. I just got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Now, who would have ever thought that that would ever happen? But it did. And so there's a renewed energy of some sort that's in New Rochelle, where I was born. They have 9 murals that they put up. They're big. They're the whole side of buildings. And it's really transformed the city. The city is going in the right direction for a change. It's looking good, changing some things. One of those is a picture of me on the side of this building playing.
Wow.
And you know, if my parents could have seen that, they would have just, I don't know what they would have done. But, you know, I came a long way from being a guy who everybody thought was kind of a loser, you know, who was supposed to have gone to college and blah, 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 was out of school and playing a guitar, you know, like that didn't go over in 1960 in Larchmont, New York. Let me tell you, it didn't go over at all.
Well, amazing story. And thank you very much, Jane. And let's go to Nancy. Nancy Berkeley is running our destination wedding honeymoon group. And yeah, Philadelphia, right? I always forget. Okay.
I am. Philadelphia.
Go ahead.
Hi, Don. In the spirit of travel and tourism, and you're so well traveled, I have to ask, what is on your bucket list? Is there a destination that you're just really inspired to travel to?
There's 2 places that I should have, could have, maybe gone to, but I don't think that way anymore. One is Egypt, to see the pyramids, and the other would be what's that island? I think it's near Peru with the monitor lizards and all. What's that called?
Those Galapagos.
Galapagos in Ecuador. Yes, yes.
Galapagos.
I kind of want to see. I don't really have enough gumption to do it. But you know, if I could find a first class way, you know, private plane, see the thing fly away, I would do it.
You need a good travel agent.
Yeah, I know.
Peter is actually doing some work in Ecuador, right? And you know the Galapagos, Peter.
Yeah, so it's well worth your trip if you're able to do it. It used to be you had to stay for a week, but now you can do it in you can go for the day and see 1 or 2 of the islands and come back. So maybe, you know, one of these days you'll get to see the.
You know what? It's all possible. I'm feeling quite good. I'm going to be running around like crazy. I'm going to have a ton of momentum. And that's just like me to say, let's go to Galapagos, you know, and I might do it.
Well, if you need any advice, I'll be glad to give it to you.
Well, that's great. I appreciate that very much.
Yes. And actually, I've been laughing as you've been speaking, my father, I'm probably about the same age as you are, and he had record stores. And he used to say to me, don't sell rock and roll because we don't make a lot of money on it. Try to sell opera. You make more money on opera. So that was certainly how life was about 60 years ago. And today it's come a long way from that. But I remember in those days, the record stores. You're absolutely right. I mean, everything that you said.
A long, long time ago, I can still remember how that music used to make me smile. And I knew if I had my chance, I could make those people dance. Maybe they'd be happy for a while. But February made me shiver. With every paper I deliver, bad news on the doorstep. I couldn't take one more step. I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride. But something touched me deep inside the day the music died. So sing it with me. So bye, bye, Miss American Pie. A little louder. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee will dry. Them good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, singing this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. The book of love. Do you have faith in God above? If the Bible tells you so. Now do you believe in rock and roll? Can music save your mortal soul? Can you teach me how to dance real slow? Well, I know that you're in love with him, 'cause I saw you dancing in the gym. You both kicked off your shoes. I think those are rhythm and blues. I was a lonely teenage bronco buck with a pink carnation and a pickup truck. But I knew I was out of love the day the music died. Oh, sing it! Started singing. American Pie. Rode my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, saying this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Helter skelter in the summer swelter, the birds flew off with a fallout shell. 8 miles high and falling fair. Tried for a forward pass with a jester on the sideline in a cab. Now the halftime air was sweet perfume while the sergeants played their marching tune. We all got up to dance. We never got the chance. The players tried to take the field. Marching band refused to yield. Do you recall what was real today? The music died. Oh, let me hear y'all. Started singing, bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Rode my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. The good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, saying this'll be the day that I die. All right, let's play that guitar. A generation lost in space with no time left to start again. So come on, Jack, be nimble. Jack, be quick. Jack Flash sat on his candlestick. Fire is the devil's only friend. Oh, and as I watched him on the stage, my hands were clenched in fists of rage. No angel born in hell could break that Satan's spell. As the flames climb high into the night to light the sacrificial rite, I saw Satan laughing with delight the day the music died. I can't hear ya. Sing it for me. We were singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Rode my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, singing this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. Well, I met a girl who sang the blues, and I asked her for some happy news. She just smiled and turned away. And I went down to the sacred store where I'd heard the music years before, but the man there said the music wouldn't play. In the streets, the children screamed, the lovers cried, and the poets dreamed. Not a word was spoken. The church bells all were broken. And the three men I admire most, Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, they caught the last train for the coast the day the music died. And they were singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, singing this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. Oh yeah! Oh, we were singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing this will be the day that I die. Oh yeah! Do you want to sing it some more? Well, stand right there and sing it. We were singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, singing this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I... Oh, a little louder! Bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, singing this will be the day that I die. This will be the day. Oh, let's just do the first verse together. Here we go. Did you write the book of love? Do you have faith in God above? If the Bible tells you so. Now do you believe in rock and roll? In music, save your mortal soul. Can you teach me how to dance real slow? Well, I know that you're in love with him, 'cause oh, you dancing right in the gym. You both kicked all the shoes. I think those are rhythm and blues. I was to the day that I die. We were singing, bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Rode my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys are drinking whiskey and rye, saying this'll be the day that I die.
No, Don, I'm so pleased that you're staying with us till the end, because when I talked to your producer, he said you had 20 minutes and we're taking an hour of your time. We're actually almost done. We got 2 more minutes left, and I really appreciate it. And I wanted to just see if anyone else has anything to comment. You mentioned Egypt, and I'm thinking about Africa. We got Tony actually with us, Tony Ofungi. He's not in Egypt, he's in Tanzania, but he represents the media for the African Tourism Board. So keep that in mind and send some information about Egypt. Maybe we get down to.
I'm afraid I have to get off now, unfortunately, but I am really delighted that you had me, and you've got me thinking now about some of these destinations and how I can spend a lot of money to do it my way and make it easy and first class and all that stuff, because I'm not going to go through any trouble. That's how I feel.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Don, we're going to ask you one request. Your next song that you write, maybe the travel and tourism industry will inspire you. So maybe you'll write a song about traveling.
Say that again.
I said, we're hoping that maybe the travel and tourism industry, now that it's coming back after COVID, might inspire you to write a song about travel and tourism.
You never know, I might.
Okay, well, it was a pleasure having you here today, and thank you again for your time. We're going to let everyone know where the next events and concerts are. We got the poster, we have the link, and it's going to be in the article. Also, if you wanted to listen to this again in the archive, we're going to add a clip of American Pie to it, so you can actually see it. And for anyone else who wants to attend any future events, just go to worldtourismevents.com. We're also going to be sending emails for anything upcoming. And we have a lot of plans coming up this year for World Tourism Network, because we all think travel and tourism is restarting, and we want travel and tourism to restart. Actually, Peter made a statement yesterday. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the statement you wrote, Peter?
Yeah, well, one of the things is the World Tourism Network is really working hard to help each locale or each business regenerate itself after this whole COVID issue. And so if you'll let us know, you can read the statement on eTurbo News, but if you'll let us know how we're here to help. And part of the whole concept of the World Tourism Network is that we're all helping each other, because when each part of the tourism industry grows, we're helping everybody else to grow. So let us all know how we can help you. I don't know if we can always send you customers, but we'll try the best we can. But tourism is all about our safety and our security. And if we're all safe, if one of us is safe, then hopefully all of us will become safe. But we're only as safe and as secure as the weakest part of us. So please work with the World Tourism Network. We're here to serve you.
Thank you very much, Peter, and thank you for anyone attending. I actually said Tony is from Tanzania. Tony is actually from Uganda. And so just he raised the hand. I don't want to misrepresent the country he's from. Both
I'm from Uganda.
You're from Uganda, and we love Uganda.
It's all East Africa. We're all African, so that's fine with me.
Okay, all right. How's everything in Uganda these days, Tony?
Well, Uganda, we're trying to pick up the pieces from the obviously the COVID-19. it's coming up slowly, especially because of the travel restrictions been and requirements for testing, and we hope that we will get over that. I mean, I have a good feeling that the pandemic is getting behind us. Having well, I don't say I suffered from COVID, but I experienced COVID, and having experienced it, I feel that it has been diluted quite a bit to a minor flu. I hope we should, beyond that, look at it not as a pandemic, but just as Spain says, an epidemic, and then we will dilute it from there, and then we shall resume travel as we know it.
Thank you.
And we hope dawn comes to the gorillas too, and to Tanzania, if as you said, we all Africans, we all the World Tourism Network. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. And without a word of wisdom from Professor Snesana in Serbia, we couldn't have a show. So, Professor, how's everything going on your end in Serbia?
It's like everywhere because, as I said before, the numbers for COVID are going up and down, but not a lot of people in the hospitals, which is very good. For New Year, we had very good season, actually, which started from December 25th until the January 13th, because our Christmas, it was on the 7th of January, and the Serbian New Year, it was on the 13th of January. Now we are in 7,530 years, Serbian years.
Wow.
So we were celebrating from the 25th of December until the 14th of January. And I can tell you, we have a lot of tourists, domestic and foreign tourists, especially from this area, from the Balkan. So tourism was very good in Serbia in this period, from the end of December until now. Today is also a big day here in Serbia because it's dedicated to Saint John, which is Slava, which is a patronate of half, I can say 50% of the families of Serbia. Their patron is Saint John, so everybody are going to visit their relatives, and we are still celebrating. That
wonderful. And I experienced not the Serbian Christmas, I experienced the Greek Christmas. I was in Greek actually after New Year's and saw the 7th Christmas day in Greek. It's very different. I was wondering, they played Christmas music constantly back to back in the city hall. They had this, I think, on an automatic tape from morning to evening. And that was going on after January. And I said, what is going on? I mean, they never finished Christmas, but I know now why. And I know it's a big thing. And I'm glad things are getting better and the world is looking brighter when it comes to tourism. And for everyone, we will be in touch. Just watch this show anytime you want. We're going to put it on archive on our YouTube channel, where it's linked from World Tourism Network. And I wanted to thank you for everyone for hanging in there. That's for more than an hour. And hopefully we see you again at another event very soon. And I want to give Peter the last word.
Well, it's going to be not long, but I think that we really had a wonderful session today on showing the whole concept of culture and tourism. And songs have united people really since the beginning of time. In the same way tourism has worked and travel has worked to unite people. And in this post-COVID age, hopefully it's post-COVID, we won't have another variant that'll come down the pike. This is really a wonderful chance for us to work together, sing together, and come together and create a culture of tourism that unites the world. So I want to thank all of you for being here with us today. Have a wonderful, happy New Year, no matter what your New Year is. And it's almost, by the way, the lunar year in New Year for China. So if you're in the Asian world, Happy New Year coming up. If you are in the Western world, Happy New Year having just come. So wish you all a wonderful year, no matter where you might be. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.